October 28, 1943. The U.S. Navy destroyer escort USS Eldridge is docked in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, the ship is engulfed in a flash of brilliant green light. For a moment, it appears to vanish completely. In its place, a strange, swirling fog lingers. But the mystery doesn't end there. According to the legend, the Eldridge reappeared seconds later, hundreds of miles away in Norfolk, Virginia, before returning to its original location. The crew? Some were fused to the ship's deck, others were found insane, and a few simply vanished. For decades, this incredible tale has been known as the Philadelphia Experiment. It's a story of invisible warships, catastrophic teleportation, and a shocking government cover-up. But is it true? Was this a secret military project that unlocked the laws of physics? Or is it one of the most elaborate and enduring hoaxes of the 20th century? Today, we will dive into the most bizarre chapter of naval history and try to separate fact from the stunning fiction. We will not only explore the legend, but also the men who created it, the science it co-opted, and the powerful forces that allow a hoax to become a modern myth. Part 1. The Birth of a Legend. The story of the Philadelphia experiment did not begin in a military archive. It was born from a single, compelling voice and a series of mysterious letters. Our tale starts in the mid-1950s with Morris K. Jessup, a U.S. astronomer and writer who had published a book on UFOs titled The Case for the UFO. Jessup's book explored the theory that UFOs were built by extraterrestrials using a technology that manipulated gravity. One day, he received a letter that would change his life and birth a legend. The letter was from a man who identified himself as Carlos Allende, also known as Carl Allen. Allende claimed to have been a crew member on the SS Andrew Furuseth, a merchant marine ship docked in Philadelphia on that fateful day in 1943. In his rambling, often nonsensical letters, Allende claimed to have witnessed the impossible with his own eyes. He described how the USS Eldridge was part of a secret experiment. The project's code name was supposedly Project Rainbow, and its purpose was to make naval ships invisible to enemy radar and magnetic mines. This was a real technology, known as degaussing, but Allende's claims went far beyond this mundane reality. According to Allende, the experiment was a series of increasingly risky tests. The first tests in the summer of 1943 were a limited success, producing a strange green fog that made the ship appear translucent. But the final full-power test on October 28th went horribly wrong. Allende claimed that scientists had succeeded in bending light and sound waves around the ship, making it entirely invisible to the naked eye. But the initial success led to a far more dangerous outcome. When the experiment was attempted again, the ship not only became invisible, but it also teleported from Philadelphia to Norfolk, Virginia. It stayed there for a few minutes, witnessed by sailors on other ships, and then vanished again, reappearing back in Philadelphia. This brief, interdimensional journey was said to have had devastating consequences. The alleged outcome for the crew was horrific. Allende claimed that the sailors suffered from extreme disorientation and nausea. Some disappeared and were never seen again, reportedly sent to another dimension by the intense electromagnetic field. Most chillingly, Allende claimed to have seen sailors fused into the ship's hull, with parts of their bodies embedded in the steel decks. He described men who went crazy from the experience, wandering aimlessly on the docks, with their minds lost forever. This terrifying account of human cost became the central pillar of the legend, providing a dark, cautionary note to the otherwise fantastical story. Allende's letters were dismissed by Jessup at first, but a strange thing happened. A few years later, Jessup was contacted by the Office of Naval Research. They had received an annotated version of his UFO book, filled with notes in 3 different handwriting styles, claiming to have more information about the invisible ship that was mentioned in the book. Jessup recognized the handwriting of Carlos Allende. This bizarre turn of events made Jessup believe that Allende's story, as crazy as it was, might contain a grain of truth. The book, with Allende's annotations, was privately printed by the Office of Naval Research and released to a small circle of researchers. It was through this that the story finally broke into the public consciousness, turning what was once a series of letters from an eccentric man into a full-blown conspiracy theory. The legend was born. But what was the supposed science behind it? Part 2. The Scientific Foundation, Einstein and Tesla. The Philadelphia experiment legend is so captivating because it grounds its fantastical claims in the names of real scientific geniuses. According to the story, the experiment was based on Albert Einstein's unified field theory. This theory, which Einstein spent the latter years of his life tirelessly pursuing, was an attempt to unify the forces of gravity and electromagnetism into a single framework. The conspiracy claims that the Navy, with the help of scientists like Einstein, had secretly solved the theory and used it to manipulate electromagnetic fields to achieve invisibility. The premise was that by generating a massive electromagnetic field around an object, its light and gravity waves could be bent, making it undetectable. The story goes further, claiming that this was not just a theoretical model, but a physical test of a concept Einstein had been working on since the 1930s. The story also claims that the experiment's chief scientist was none other than the brilliant and eccentric inventor Nikola Tesla. Tesla, the story suggests, had created the massive coils and generators needed to power the experiment. Known for his groundbreaking work with alternating current and high-frequency electricity, Tesla was the perfect figure to attach to a story of impossible energy and technological marvels. However, Tesla supposedly abandoned the project in 1942, just before the experiment was to take place, because he realized the catastrophic danger it posed to the human crew. His withdrawal left the project in the hands of other, less cautious scientists. The legend also claims that a massive pulse of energy from the experiment was responsible for a brief power outage in the surrounding area, another sign of its immense hidden power. On the surface, this sounds plausible enough to a layperson. But the truth is, while Einstein did work on his unified field theory, he never successfully completed it. His work was purely theoretical and never reached a point where it could be applied to real-world technology like an invisibility cloak. As for Tesla, he was in failing health by 1942 and passed away in January 1943, months before the supposed experiment took place. There is no historical record of him ever being involved in a naval project of this kind. The supposed connection to both geniuses is a perfect example of a myth co-opting real-world figures to gain credibility. The myth of the Philadelphia experiment would also give birth to a related and even more outlandish conspiracy theory, the Montauk Project. This theory claims that the Philadelphia experiment was a success, and the U.S. military continued its research at a secret facility in Montauk, New York, where they experimented with mind control, time travel, and interdimensional beings. This later myth even claims to have discovered a portal to a parallel universe. While even more fantastical, the Montauk Project shows the power of the original story to create an entire fictional universe built on the foundation of a single hoax.
Part 3. The Skeptic's Verdict and the Truth. The official response to the Philadelphia experiment has been consistent and unwavering. It never happened. The U.S. Navy has always denied the claims, stating that no such experiment was ever conducted. But the Navy's word alone is not enough for the true believers. So, what do the historical records tell us? Naval records for the USS Eldridge, DE-173, provide a comprehensive timeline of the ship's movements. According to the ship's log, on October 28, 1943, the very day it was supposedly in Philadelphia, the USS Eldridge was in fact in the Bahamas. It was involved in anti-submarine warfare training exercises with other ships. The logbook, a detailed official document, is a minute-by-minute account of a ship's activities. It would be nearly impossible to falsify such a document across multiple military and governmental archives, especially without any leaks in the decades that followed. Furthermore, the log for the SS Andrew Forsyth, the ship from which Allende claimed to have witnessed the event, also confirms it was not in Philadelphia at the time of the alleged experiment. It was in New York. The physical evidence simply doesn't exist. What about the sailors who witnessed the event? In 1999, the USS Eldridge Association held a reunion. The surviving crew members from 1943 were interviewed about the experiment. They all stated unequivocally that the story was a complete fabrication. They had no memory of any experiment or any bizarre events. They confirmed that their ship was in the Bahamas, not Philadelphia. Their first-hand accounts provide the strongest refutation of the legend. So, if the ship and crew were in a completely different location, where did the legend come from? The truth lies in the words of Carlos Allende himself. Researchers who investigated his story found that he was a troubled individual with a history of fabricating fantastical stories. He had a deep fascination with fringe science and had a pattern of sending letters to researchers and authors, fabricating his past and creating elaborate hoaxes. In 1980, he admitted to an interviewer that he had made the whole thing up based on a book he had read about theories of teleportation and a real naval procedure he may have misunderstood. This leads us to the most likely origin of the myth, a real naval technology known as degaussing. During World War II, degaussing was a common procedure used to protect ships from magnetic mines. These mines were triggered by a ship's magnetic field. To counter this, ships were wrapped in electrical cables and given a strong electrical current. This procedure neutralized the ship's magnetic signature. When in operation, this would cause a faint glowing discharge or a buzzing sound. To an uneducated eye, this strange advanced technology could look like some form of invisibility. It's highly probable that Allende witnessed this and years later combined it with his own vivid imagination to create the story. Part 4. The enduring appeal of the hoax. So why does the Philadelphia experiment continue to captivate us? Why do millions of people still search for hidden proof of an event that has been so thoroughly debunked? The answer lies in the human desire for a more exciting reality. The legend of the Philadelphia experiment feeds on our deep-seated distrust of authority and government secrecy. The Cold War, with its nuclear anxieties and covert operations, created a climate of fear and suspicion. Stories about government cover-ups of top-secret projects like the Manhattan Project or MK-Ultra, a CIA mind control program, made the public believe that anything was possible. For many, a story about the government hiding a teleporting warship felt far more plausible than the apathetic, often boring official story. Furthermore, the conspiracy theory offers a simple, compelling narrative where official explanations are boring and flawed, and the real truth is exciting and dangerous. It gives ordinary people a special, secret knowledge that is hidden from the masses. This sense of being in the know is a powerful psychological incentive. This is a common feature of modern conspiracy culture, where a single story, often from an anonymous source, can go viral and become a global phenomenon. The Philadelphia experiment is a testament to the power of a good story. It started as a hoax, but it resonated with our collective fears and our fascination with the unknown. It became a modern myth, passed down not through ancient dialogues, but through books, documentaries, and the internet. The legend has been featured in major motion pictures like The Philadelphia Experiment 1984 and in popular TV shows like Stranger Things, where it serves as a backdrop for fantastical tales. These pop culture references keep the story alive and introduce it to new generations who may not be familiar with the original debunking. The truth in the myth. The Philadelphia Experiment remains one of the most famous conspiracy theories of all time. After decades of investigation, the evidence is clear. The USS Eldridge was not made invisible, it did not teleport, and its crew did not suffer a horrifying fate. It was a story born of a mix of a real naval technology, a troubled individual, and the era's deep-seated distrust. But the myth endures because it tells us something true about ourselves. It shows us how badly we want to believe that there is more to the world than what we are told. It speaks to our fascination with the limits of science and the secrets that governments might hold. So, perhaps the Philadelphia experiment wasn't a secret military project, but it is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most dangerous thing a government can create isn't an invisible warship, but a vacuum of trust that allows hoaxes to thrive and become a part of our modern folklore. This is Chronicle Cube. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most fascinating enigmas.